elemental society is based upon the simple truth that humanity should be a believer in this, a believer in that. There is, of course, no greater belief in this entire world than the university is God. And so a consequence of that is that we have to look at ourselves as if we are believers, as if we are a herd of humanity that cannot think for itself but must have a leader in order to have any function at all. So the end result of that is that the people who lead us to what they believe. And of course, those who lead us have a diploma, and that means that the university has indoctrinated them with the idea that they can be God. And of course, that simply means, in terms of being human, that the parasites have invaded us, and the dysentery of human disease that is belief, which is, in religious terms, that's the devil. The want is essentially the devil, because it creates every lie. If you don't want to hide something, you don't lie. If you don't want to get something, you don't lie. Lies are produced by want, and want, of course, is, the greatest liar of all, of course, is in religious terms, it's called the devil. It's just a name. But nonetheless, what we need to do is look at our beliefs so that we can identify what it is that is going wrong. And the idea of that is clearly identified in university considerations, that they should be God because they have the most words. They can tell you to do this and they can tell you to do that, as is with COVID. They are God. You have to believe them. And if you don't believe them, the media, who is owned by a university, you don't get to be in media if you don't have a diploma. So the university tells them what to think, and the university tells them what to do, and the university tells them everything. So what is the university? And that, of course, is the elite of university who makes all the decisions and who decides what is or is not true. And there are very few of them, actually. You don't get to make a decision. You don't get to think for yourself in university. You get to memorize in university. You get to mimic what you're told, and you get to repeat what you've been told, so that you learn to obey what they say to you. And of course, that is the primary problem with every portion and every part of this United States, that we have been led down the path of just horrifying details that are just awful. And to rectify that problem, we have to actually decide to take them to court. Not the court that is controlled by a university, which is, university is God. You cannot decide anything for yourself. The university is God. So this is a court of redress. A court. We, the people, must make a decision for ourselves. We must decide for ourselves what is or is not in our own best interest. And that means that we have to actually think. And thought is an environment of its own. It's not a case of your brain or this or that. That's just an intellectual excuse to measure things. Thought is it's a construction of life itself. So we have to understand that the evidence must decide for us. We cannot decide for ourselves. We must let the evidence decide for us. So things that we've been told are not to be believed. They may or may not be true, but we don't know unless we investigate the evidence. That will prove what is or is not true as best we can. And of course, as with COVID, the entire function or purpose of a university is to corrupt the evidence so that it manipulates us into believing whatever it is they want us to believe. And the consequence of that is that they are in control and we are not. So it is important to understand what belief is. And belief is simply, I want what I want, or I don't want what I don't want. And to enforce that, they use fear. As is with COVID, Fear the cost of being wrong. Get a vaccination. Fear the cost of being wrong. Fear the cost of your body just falling apart. Fear it. But of course, the end result of that is, without proof that there is in fact COVID, which was not actually proven, and without proof that their experimental vaccine is actually worth the $60,000 per each and every individual 100 million shots that were given, plus all the rest that came after, plus all the things that they do to enforce that they are God and you are not. We need to understand that our lives, our future, our hope, our everything is based upon nature. Not upon them, it's based upon nature. Our existence as a world is based upon whether or not we will enforce world law, because they have created weapons of mass destruction throughout the world, throughout governments, and the universe control more biological weapons than do governments. So they can threaten us too. And we have to accept the fact that fear isn't going to help us anymore. It's not going to help us. We have to protect ourselves from extinction. And extinction is nature dissolves into chaos, or the world itself fails to be a world that we can live in. And of course, to do that, we have to make them prove that, for one thing, that evolution is true. They base all of their genetics on evolution. And they continually mass produce the manipulation that evolution is somehow true. It is absolutely not true. And the foundation of our existence, which is nature, which is the genetic blueprint of life. And it's not a blueprint. It's a musical song, basically. There are things that must be given, but that genetics do control, but they must be orchestrated in a way that lets them accomplish the fact that this is a life, not a building or a vehicle or something. That and life itself is more of a key than not. In other words, if you have a car that sits outside, without the key to start it, it's worthless. And so is life. It's just a dead body without life. Doesn't care. It doesn't matter how much you think your blueprint will create what you want. What you want doesn't have anything to do with it. It is life or it is death. And to understand that, we need to know what is true and what is not true. And of course, evolution is the universe. We are God. We can prove it. We have evolution. So make them prove what is true. Make them prove that their evolution is, in fact, has any chance at all of being real. Because it does not. Chaos did not build any part of life. Accidents did not build any part of life. Thought did not come last. There's absolutely nothing about the evolutionary claim that they are God that is real. Not a bit. And while we are at it, we must let them prove, make them prove that they can in fact bring the same fire here as is on the sun and control it. And they say, we don't have to control it. Gravity will control it. It'll just extinguish itself. A 1,000,000-mile long flame on the sun that will burn your skin in summer from 94 million miles away with radiation that will incinerate you and absolutely vaporize you if you get too close. That is what they're trying to ignite here, and they spent trillions of dollars on that. And of course, if they're wrong, they incinerate us all. And they can't conceive of the idea that they're wrong, because that's not what universities do. They're God. You don't understand. They're God. They can't be wrong. They're God. But of course they aren't God. They're just former classmates. They're just people which have so much arrogance and so much apathy and so much disrespect for all of life and all of the planet and everything that we depend upon for our own survival, that it is beyond comprehension and conforms to the idea of the religious world called Satan. That's who they are, that's what they want, that's what they do. But we cannot go and do like the Chinese did in the turn of the 20th century and just kill all the intellectuals. That's not going to work. So we have to make them prove what it is that they can or cannot do. We have to identify what is or is not real and put them in their place. And one of the things, of course, that comes with that is that we have to understand what it is that they are doing. We need to know what they are doing. And so the end result of that is they are creating all kinds of debts. They're playing with all of their toys, and they're making all kinds of claims that they cannot support by the evidence. They're collecting money from us that they don't deserve. They don't do any work to speak of. They're just the worst of the worst of the worst of the worst that humanity has ever been, because they're taking our lives, they're taking our future, they're taking our resources, they're taking our world and destroying it because they just don't care. They just don't care. And yet, through manipulation of media, you believe they are somehow helping you. They're not helping you. They're not. You think that medicine is helping you. Well, it's not. And unfortunately, the truth of it is, if we don't, some of us don't die, the rest of us don't live. We are creating a population that cannot be sustained by this earth. Cannot be sustained by this earth. So we have a choice. Either we stop creating more population, and I don't mean, zero population rise is absolutely necessary. And if we don't find that within ourselves to stop what we are doing that is wrong, if we don't do that, we're going to be extinct because the earth cannot support us. And you can say, well, there'll be world war and the strongest will survive and all that, as what universities do, and they intend to hide in their little holes and create a vaccine so they can release biological agents against you or poison you or whatever it is that they have in mind. And then they're going to have robots to do their work, or they're going to go fly off to different planets and so on. And none of that is going to be real. None of it. Because they're so foolish, they just don't understand what is real. They don't want reality. They like fantasy, delusions, and imagination. That's what they want. That's what they do. That's what they give you, is fantasy, delusion, and imagination. You can see what they're trying to do, what they're planning to do with the new Monkey Man movie that's just come out. We're going to put a monkey face on a human being and give him human-like characteristics and say, this is good. It is not good. It's just the identity of what genetics are doing. The claim that they can take one piece of this blueprint, which is what they claim genetics are, and it's not. They don't know what it is. Just like they don't know that the sun is actually on fire. They're burning the bond of atoms. That's what the sun does. So they're trying to ignite atoms here on Earth, even though they know how dangerous that is. A planet made out of fuel is a planet made out of fuel, just like the sun. And the sun core cannot be hot, or the whole thing would be on fire. And even you understand that if all the fuel is on fire at once, it's not going to last, or it's not going to burn long. Isn't that true? Once the fuel is out, the fire goes out. Isn't that true? So we know that the entire core, the inner part of the sun, is not on fire. It's not on fire. And we know that thermodynamics demand that the heat rise away from the surface of its fuel. So we know that. And we need to know what reality can and cannot prove about the things that they do. We cannot wait for them to prove that they are wrong, because that's an extinction. That's a world that's dead. That's what the predicted, Armageddon, which is nature in chaos, the apocalypse, which means that it's a war for water. We ran out of water, and too many humans trying to get too many water, and poisoned it all, and so on. There's all kinds of things that we face right now a biblical prophecy and what have you. They're just realities that we have to face. If we don't face our truth, we will die from more lies. Well, from university lies. They are traitors. In real terms, they are traitors. So, your choice is to use redress of grievances. That's a First Amendment constitutional law that demands that we, the people, will make the decision now. We will be the judge, not you. We will decide for ourselves what our future as a nation will be, or our future as a world will be. We decide. It's our right.